Hi there, my name is Troels and welcome to Soundpaint. In this video, I'm giddily excited because we're going to introduce and take a look at one of the most beautiful creations we've ever done for Soundpaint. This is the 1965 Gibson Melody Maker Rhythm and Sound, which is a guitar with a very, very colorful effects pedal to it. You can do different colors on it. You can play drum kits through it. So this library is a lot more diverse than just a guitar library, as you're about to see. And the way I thought about doing it is that Darren, who's the guy that produced and recorded it and a near friend of mine, is going to take you through his process behind the instrument. You're going to see what it looks like and really talk about the whole sort of sampling aspect to it. And then Natalie's going to take over and show you the instrument in all its depths. And then towards the end of the video, I just have a couple of mini demos I want to show you because I sort of have my own colorful take on this guitar. I actually happen to think that it's an amazing film score, cinematic kind of instrument as well, even though it's from 1965. It can sound completely modern, like the newest synthesizer that you've ever heard. Very organic, very analog. But let's get into it. Here's Darren for you.
Welcome to Soundpaint. My name is Darren, and today we are looking at the 1965 Gibson Melody Maker. Now, for me, this library isn't just about this wonderful guitar, but it's also sharing the spotlight with a little known, fairly rare, and very cool effects unit, the Maestro Rhythm and Sound. Now, the Melody Makers started getting made in about 1959 or so as student guitars. They came in full size or 3/4. This is a full-size version. Mahogany body, rosewood fingerboard. They sound great, they play great, and lots of famous players from Joan Jett to Keith Richards to Slash have all played Melody Makers. They came in a couple different varieties. Most of them had a single coil pickup in the bridge. Some would have a single coil pickup in the bridge and in the neck. And if you look at this one, you of course notice that there are two humbuckers in here. And that's because this guitar was heavily modified sometime in the 70s by a previous owner. So they changed out the tuners for shallers, removed the vibrola, put a Leo Kwan Badass bridge in there for better intonation, dropped a DiMarzio Super Distortion into the bridge position, and then routed out a second pickup cavity for a Gibson T-top humbucker. Now, for the purpose of this library, I stuck with the T-top. That's what we sampled. One, because it has such a sweet sound, and two, because the rhythm and sound actually tells you it's better to use the neck pickup. So those of you who are not familiar with T-tops, they get that name because of a little T stamped in the top of the bobbin. You know, you had PAFs, or patent applied for pickups, then you had patent sticker pickups, and then about 1968, you got T-tops. And the way that they differ from the earlier versions is that they were a little more consistent with the number of turns or windings on the pickups, so they're a little more balanced. And then the wire actually changed, or I should say the coating on the wire changed, because the previous coating was apparently really hard for Gibson to solder, and it clogged their machines, their winding machines. Nevertheless, these pickups have a very nice sound, pretty decent output reading, nothing too high, as opposed to the Super Distortion, which, of course, that was all the craze in the 70s. And these pickups have a really high output reading that gives you a little kick at the front of your amp and helps your amp go into overdrive. The ironic thing is a lot of guitars, Gibson guitars, Les Pauls, SGs, etc., people threw out the pickups and started putting Super Distortions in there. So the Maestro Rhythm and Sound, Maestro, which is also Gibson, made a variety of different effects units, from fuzz to signal boosters, phasers, and so forth. But 1967 or so, 68, they started making the Rhythm and Sound. They also made an effects unit that you used a little microphone, and it was for woodwinds or brass, and it would change your sound as well. This model, the G1, I think mine is from 68. They made another model, the G2, a little bit later. I've only known about these units from talking to other musicians. I know a few artists have used them. I couldn't tell you a lot of details about it. What you find online about it is a lot of chatter, or some guy like me that happens to have one and can kind of talk about it. Unfortunately, I can't tell you a whole lot about them. The good news is, though, I do have a unit that came with the original literature. So I just want to share the instruction manual. I'm just going to share the first sentence. I think this is great. The Maestro Rhythm and Sound for guitar is probably the most significant advancement in fretted musical instrument development since the introduction of the electric guitar by Gibson in the 1930s. So, to use the unit is really basic. You pick your sound, press the tab, play your note. It alters your sound accordingly. So if we look left to right, from the left we have a variety of percussion sounds or drum sounds. Now the thing about these that you have to kind of be careful about, or I had to be careful about when I was sampling, is that the sensitivity knob, if it's too high, you're going to get a lot of flams and drags and some very uneven rolls. Some of the rolls we sampled just to kind of give that effect. But for the most part, we wanted to get a nice little clean hit. And the bongos in particular were really, really sensitive. I had to turn the sensitivity way down. The bass drum is really soft. It's got a cool clave. It's quite a good sounding little drum machine effect. The thing about the drum is it doesn't matter what note you hit. You can hit any string, you can hit it muted. You're going to get that sound. If you look at the middle section, this is where I think the rhythm and sound really shines. The upright bass, it's cool. It's just this cool old vintage synthy sound. The fuzz bass next to it is great. They both kind of glitch a little bit, and they have little pops and things that I tried to capture when sampling. I'm just impressed with not only how great it sounds, but how well it tracks the guitar. I mean, I dropped the tuning, and it stayed in tune, tracked really well. There was also a lot of variation between each note, as well as within each note. So lots of round robins, and for both basses, actually sampled every note up and down the fingerboard until it cut out. A few started cutting out around the first string. So when you get to the guitar section, you have this really nice selection of what they call color tones. So you have kind of a surf tone, jangly tone. You can get kind of twangy, you can get kind of funky, even to like a G-funk sound. And then of course you have the natural sound. I tried to find the spot that I felt like the guitar really shined for that color tone. So I experimented with a few things like palm mute on some where it goes from a heavy palm mute to a lighter palm mute as we get louder to eventual just full sustain. Things that would feel really guitaristic on the keys and just make that sound very useful. There's some power chords, and then, just because I didn't want the bass to have all the fun with fuzz, I went ahead and sampled a Maestro fuzz tone for a couple of guitar sounds. If you're not familiar with the fuzz tone, you'd know it from the main riff of You Can't Get No Satisfaction. That's a Maestro fuzz tone. And so it's vintage, it's woolly, and gives you just another couple tones to play around with and have fun with this library. Experiment, go make some great music, and until next time.
Hey everybody, what's going on? My name is Natalie Tenenbaum. I'm here today with Soundpaint. I'm going to be testing out the 1965 Gibson Melody Maker and Rhythm and Sound. This is a very, very special and cool collection of sounds. I mean, the guitar by itself is gorgeous, as I'll demonstrate shortly, and the rhythm and sound is just such a funky, cool, just from a sound design perspective, and of course what it adds to the guitar as intended is just like nothing I've ever heard before. So I'm very excited to showcase that for you guys. So without further ado, this is the Gibson 1965. Let's go. All right, so before I dive into all the different parts and programs as I traditionally do, I actually recorded this, clean. I recorded a little chord progression earlier that I want to play for you real quick. So this is just the part. It has nothing on it, no reverb, no delay, nothing. Just clean out the box by itself. And then I thought, just as an experiment, I just wanted to hear it in the context of like either another instrument or like a band or, what have you. I was just curious to see how that sits with anything else. So I went into another Soundpaint, the choir's 5-syllable here, and I just kind of mirrored. I played the same chords, and I think it sounds pretty cool. I mean, it's maybe the beginning of a composition. I don't know. It's 2 patches, 2 tracks right now, 2 patches, but maybe I'll expand it. You guys let me know in the comments what you think. I digress. And then I did the same thing. Actually, I took a different patch, the Cinematic Beautiful Emotion from the Ambience's library, and I played 1 note. This was the note. So evocative. I love this. And then I just played a little Gibson on top of it. I was curious to see. So this is one of the processed programs. Has some fuzz on it. We'll get there, I'll show you, but anyway, so that's kind of like, you know, what I was toying around with before I sat down to shoot this little demo. But now I'll show you in real time the kind of things that you can do with this beautiful, beautiful library of sounds. So here, let me quick record here real quick. Thank you, Ableton, for the click. That was obviously with the choir, just clean Gibson by itself. Let's listen here to the second part. This is the Melody G1 Color 1. Cool. Nice, very clean. Again, I'm not going to be adding anything fancy just yet. So this is a color 1 fuzz. Yeah, see? Like, it's so cool what the rhythm and sound can add to this guitar. Awesome. Again, that's just keep saying it, but of course with guitar delays and everything, I haven't even gotten to that. Okay, so this is power chords. Let's see. Again, not adding anything yet. Which is this one? Oh, power chords fuzz. It's through the rhythm and sound with a fuzz effect. Nice. Starting to feel stadium-y in here. Melody, yeah, color 2. Cool. A little muted vibe. Color 3. Beautiful. I love that just by itself. Let's see. Okay, so now, so drums. I never owned one of these rhythm and sounds, so I didn't know what to expect. This is kind of like a collection of the different, when you click the buttons on the rhythm and sound, the type of sounds that you'll get as you're playing the notes on your guitar. And they're dry, no processing, just by themselves. Ooh, that's a nice one. Nice kick. So the way it worked is you would click these buttons and you can layer a bunch of them on top of each other, just like you do here in Soundpaint with the programs, which I'll get to. And then with one click of the button, you cancel all of them and it just goes back to the normal guitar sound, which was unique at the time. It was like a very groundbreaking device. Cool, so this is a drum patch. Drums too, let's just see what that is. Cool. And then we have melody, fuzz. Nice. I'll heard that too. Again, no delays yet. I keep saying it. Why don't we just do it? I'm going to see what it sounds like with a little delay. A little much. Maybe a little reverb also. Ooh, what about a chorus maybe? And a reverb. Interesting. Let's see. Fuzz bass. This is cool. So every time I'm hitting it, I'm getting like a different reaction from the fuzz and the... Very cool. String bass. Again, so let's say you chose that button on the rhythm and sound. You could decide how much of it you want and whatnot, and then obviously add other effects, but let's just combine that with this. Do not as much delay this time. And a little bit of this. Yeah, so before I go any further, let me try out these programs that come here in the library. I've already hearted my favorites. So this one is the combination of the 1965 Gibson with the 1928 Sustain piano. Let's see what that sounds like. Beautiful. Let's see, this one is Ambient 1. Love. Not like, love. Let's see, Ambient 2. This is very unique. What's on here? We have my favorite, shimmer reverb. I feel like Dan Chemerinsky should have made his own reverb, and then it would have been a shim, like a CH. It's not too late. This is very, very cool, very evocative sound. Let's see, Ambient 3. Okay, let's see. This is the Angels. So it's combined with the Free Angels guitar. And then a happy note. All right, so jumping a little bit ahead, let's see. So the drums program. So cool. Like, how do they even come up with this machine, you know? Back in the day. This has an arp. Let's try this with an arp. I love that. Very cool. I feel like it's like, you know, as a layer and something. My ear will go to it being like, what is that? Very, very cool. So then we have a couple of other drum patches. Let me try another one. Let me try the arp on this one also. Design some sort of arp here. So funky. Very cool. This is the first morphed patch here. It's the Gibson Mello G1 with the fuzz. And it looks as though the morphing is leaning towards the fuzz. Let's see. I feel like it'd be cool to have some like verb and like a little delay. Chorus makes it like super 80s. Let's tame that a little bit. I added too much. Nasty in the best way possible. I love that. Okay, so then we have Film ARP 1. Sounds like a helicopter or something, right? Let's just try this ARP. Such a cool, like, droning. Don't know if that's what the rhythm and sound creator intended. But I think it's the coolest thing ever. I like that. This is the Film ARP 5. Make it slower. Let's make it eighth notes. Awesome. Let's try this one. This one is the Furry Angels, and it's combined with the Bits, Instruments, and Nature. Beautiful. I already hearted it. This is the Fuzz bass. Let's see it with an ARP. Just draw something in. Okay, let's try the Fuzz bass morphed with Fuzz guitar patch. Let's see. Let's see what happens if we add. Oh, we already had that. Cool. Fuzz power. Awesome. Okay, so this is a take on the main patch that I demonstrated at the very beginning. Nice. It's really warm. Again, I think of the electric guitar VSTs. This may be my new favorite instrument. Okay, main color. So this is a take on that. Cool. Let's try main color 3. Very nice. This one's called Main Funky. The reason why I keep doing these repeated notes is I feel like because of all the velocity layers and everything, it never sounds the same. And it's a very like... It's kind of hard to get that right. Well, also my playing has to be right, but that's a side note. Cool. Nice timbre. Okay, so this one's main Fuzz 1. Cool. super like gritty, authentic, dirty. Main octave, I guess. So the string bass layered into it. Very cool. Okay, this one is the main palm. Amazing. Beautiful. This is Pointy. This one's called Main Power. I made it my own. Fire. Only going to be using that a lot whenever I can't record the two chords that I know on guitar. All right, Palm Phase 1. I remember hearting this one. So this is really cool because, again, I know I repeat myself a lot, but this repeated note, as per my repetition, is never the same. So it genuinely feels like you're standing there with a pick, like, and the sound in the background, you hear that? So cool. Cool, let's just do a couple more. This one is the Power Funk. Hey. Haha. Love that. Last but not least, we have the Tremolo. I hope this was informative and enjoyable to check out this incredible sound library from Soundpaint. I can certainly say by this point that this is one of my favorites. I can't wait to record and compose and put in all these different sounds into effect. So I've been Natalie. This was so much fun checking out the 1965 Melody Maker. I hope you guys enjoyed this demonstration, and I can't wait to hear what you guys come up with. See you on Discord, Natalie.
You know, every time I watch Natalie play, I get a little bit jealous because she's just so fluent in her fingers. Everything comes like butter out of her. And I'm about to dial it down to a more layman's level. I've done a variety of mini demos here just to show you all the different sort of colors that I see in the instrument and how I want to use it in terms of both being a film score instrument or an ambient guitar or the sort of classic rock fuzz kind of deal you can do on it. There's so many different things, funk as well, jazz. It's an incredible deep and colorful instrument, and the drums are obviously more in the sort of synth analog category, and I can make them sound like the most modern scoring synth you've ever heard. So let me just show you all the colors as I see them and all the programs I've made that comes with the library as well. And let's just get started here. I just want to play you a couple of sort of ambient tunes, just using the guitar in a very sort of simplistic state with a lot of delays and shimmer reverbs on it. Isn't it sweet? It's so... And the basses, as you know, with Soundpaint, is always there on any instrument. So in this case here, the guitar will continue down the range of the keyboard and become a bass. That's one of the beautiful things about Soundpaint. Everything... You know, we're well below the guitar range here. So you get an accurate bass out of the instrument as well. And ironically, the actual pedal has a bass function in it. I'll show you that as well. But that was just one example of ambient. Let me show you another sort of ambient guitar here as well. This one is a little more elaborate, but still has that sort of very shiny note to it. It's so sweet. If you notice here on part 4 over here, you'll see that it's set in reverse mode. So you get these little star shots or star falls, as I like to call them, that are sort of reversing the note while everything is moving forward. All right, so in this next example, I want to show you what you can do by combining the drum machine that comes in the guitar as well. As Natalie was explaining, when you play the guitar, you can trigger drum sounds on it, these sort of very old school drums. And this sort of style here is more of a, I don't know, Latin-inspired Quentin Tarantino kind of style. Everything is coming from the 1965 guitar. Check this one out. So as you can hear, it has many different colors to it, and that was really what this unit was about. And you know, Darren talked about in the beginning, when they made this unit, it was really like the second coming of instruments and guitars. You could do so many new things. Let me just show the 4 colors that we listened to in this little mini composition. First of all, we had the ambient guitar here, just playing sort of melodic lines. And then we had the drums here. Very old school analog drums, but wait till I show what you can do with them in terms of soundtrack stuff. They're really, really great. And then we have the main here. And one of the beautiful things I love as well in Soundpaint is that you always get 127 dynamic velocity layers. So when you play, you can be soft or you can go a little more expressive. So sweet. And then here in the DAW, we have a 4th layer where I'm using a combination of different colors on the guitar. As you know, there are actual color modes on the unit. So you click a button and you get a unique color. In this case, very sort of thin sounding, almost like a banjo, if you will. You can hear it's sort of thin sounding. And for me, almost like, I don't know, an electric banjo or something. And you also get natural variations in the notes. So if you play the same note several times, it's never the same. And it feels like a guitar as much as you can do on a piano because you have all the dynamic velocities. And I really encourage you guys that want to sort of play this style of guitar on a keyboard, use the pitch bender as your vibrato. I think a lot of one's personal sort of vibrato feel comes through that. You can also associate LFOs to your mod wheel, but I actually think the pitch bender sort of is a better mean of expressing vibrato on these instruments. And with 127 velocities, it becomes very personal how you do that. Okay, so in this next example, I want to show you sort of an 80s style. I took a single patch from a DX7 and then I combined it with 3 different 1965 melody makers here. Check it out, it has a very sort of 80s vibe to it. I love the drums here. Let me just show you what they sound like on their own here. This is the group we're listening to. And I was inspired by Phil Collins in The Air Tonight with this particular groove here. And every time you play the same note on this drum, you generate a different note. That's one of the beautiful things about Soundpaint as well. You get that natural round robin going as well. That's a synthesizer library for Soundpaint as well. And on top of that, I had another ambient guitar. And on top of that, you probably heard there's a little bit of a solo towards the end. And this one is special. Darren and I have been working on sampling guitars for years and constantly trying to push the bar and prototype new technologies. As you may know, on a guitar, you can go from palm mutes to more open strings. And because we have infinite dynamic velocities in Soundpaint, we actually created a program here that will gradually take you from palm mute into open notes. It's hard to explain what that really feels like, but it just feels right on the keys in a sort of inspiring way, but also something that brings me closer to that of a guitar, even though this is not a strumming instrument. But check it out here. Let me just play something soft here and then sort of play harder notes as well, so you can hear how I'm transitioning from the palm mutes into the sustains. And you can really do these sort of and check out what happens with the velocities here, just from very soft. And you can do those sort of Tarantino style things. You know, like when you play a real piano, you can really express, you feel the dynamics. It's that sort of vibe. So in this next example here, I have the step sequencer here where I programmed a drum beat. I'm just going to use the trigger right now. And you can see how the beat is going in the sequencer here. Let me just trigger that, because when I move the mod wheel, wondrous things happens with the effects. It's just so cool and warm and organic and modern, even though it's from 1965. I think there's gold in some of these old devices, and the same thing with the drum machines behind me here. They all offer something very unique that can't really be replicated with traditional means. This is real electricity, real organic materials that are degrading, and all the beautiful things you get out of analog. Let me trigger the same drum kit here, then add another drum kit also from the 1965 to it, and then 2 additional tracks. As you can see here, this is all coming from the 1965. This is more of a sort of modern TV show spy kind of thing, a little bit mysterious. And let me just play those individual. First, we had this drum set here. Then we had a second layer of drums. Aren't they cool? All coming from the library. And then you probably noticed this sound here as well. And then this very sort of thin sounding thing. And you would imagine that I would have EQ'd the lows out of it, but no, that's how the machine works. This is simply color mode number 2, very, very thin sounding, has a very sort of hip-hoppy vibe to me. It doesn't interfere with anything in the bass realm, but it just creates this very sort of nice vibe. Listen to it again here. Super thin. And then I used it here in the later part here in a more sort of cascading way. And this speaks a little bit to how these old machines work. back in the day, they were thinking a lot more about where does this device fit in terms of music and frequency-wise, which is a little bit of an art form we've lost today where everything sounds so big and uber compressed. This is super cool. It stands out in the mix in its own way, but it's not interfering too much with other things. That's one of the beautiful things about it. Here's another little micro composition using virtually the same layers here. So that was the same tracks as we listened to before. The only thing that was added was an ambient guitar. But as I mentioned, you can also use this awesome instrument for more modern, soundtracky, analog, distorted, synthy kind of stuff. Check this one out here. And in this example, I was using the drums from the 1965 and then our Palindrome 2 synth library and then our awesome TikTok library, which is one of my own fascinations with deep sampling clocks. But check how much is coming here just from the 1965 and the drums. Isn't that cool? That sort of foreboding character. Sometimes that's all we need for a score. So sweet. I made a variety of programs in the library called film arps that are just that. Let me try to play another one for you here. You can hear that sort of super organic vibe in it. That's pretty much it. Like so much low end from these drums. It actually surprised me in the beginning. I was like, oh, these sound kind of like cute. But like once you take them down an octave, like I did up here on the pitch, they become something entirely different. Let me show you yet another film arp here. And then you can add, for example, just a little bit of an ambience from our Hybrid Emotions library here, and all of a sudden you have a full track going. All right, let me just show you one final example of the film arps here. If you notice here in the browser, you'll see that there's a good amount of them. But in this case here, I used the one note stretch feature here, just isolating one single sound from the drum kit. Also did that in the previous example we just listened to. And you can really do a lot with that. This is just made with one sample with all the natural variations and a couple of effects here and there. I just love that deep sound. It was a unique discovery because when you have the drum kit in front of you, normally here, they sound like this. But I take this note here, use one note stretch, and all of a sudden, it's all over the keyboard. But down here, that sound. It's a little bit like in Jurassic Park when you hear the T-Rex from the first time, like some kind of footstep, but it has a note in it. Beautiful C. Beautiful D, that is. When Darren recorded the library, he wanted to make sure that we were recording all the classical aspects that it's known for. I Can't Get No Satisfaction was recorded with the exact fuzz pedal that he used for this library and recorded with this exact guitar and this exact pedal. So this is the exact same sound and it's so cool. I made a piece here using our power chords as well, combined with the drum kit and another layer of the 1965, more in this fuzz mode and playing fuzz bass. And you can see here on the power chords that they're fully playable on the keyboard. He sampled the whole range here, but you can also add more fuzz to it. Or the yes. But check what it can sound like in context to just some basic drums. You hear that fuzz? I realize this is the height of musical sophistication, of course, starting here with the G1 fuzz bass mode here. So dirty. And this is the kind of stuff you can't do in the digital realm. There's just too much electricity and human imperfection going on here. Even here, and this is the natural bass sound coming out of the unit. And it's funny because you play it like a guitar, but it comes out as a bass from the unit, and you add a little bit of extra fuzz to it. Just a nasty, nasty sound. Let me show you one more example here of the fuzz as well, because it's such a classical sound. And you hear that? Just so much non-linear, analog, distorted, harmonic distortion goodness. Those natural fuzz pedals, they do something to the sound. They give it an amount of not distortion, but fuzz. So penetrating in the mix. Also made this sort of jazzy, funky kind of patch that gives you the octave pedal on the mod wheel. And it's so sweet. And you can hear that fuzz. And little sort of thud almost on the mic. And just to wrap the video up, let me just show you one last example here of the palm mute. It's maybe my favorite program in the whole library and parts as well, because it's so incredibly organic to go from that palm muted sound out to open using 127 dynamically rendered velocity layers. It's hard to describe. Best way of saying it is like it's like playing a real piano, but for a guitar maybe. And for me, the natural cadence of playing something like that is like in the darker notes, I'm more muted. But as I go up here, I want to hit a little bit harder and express more. That's it.